Women, and I'll be chairing this morning's meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on Council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection, Council Shavade will take over for me. I would like to remind all participants of a few housekeeping points. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add any additional information other than their allocated time to speak, they must use their raise hand function so that they are not missed. I will ask that members keep their questions and comments brief to the point. Now, I move to agenda 1. At item 1, apologies for absence. No apologies for absence has been received. Item 2, declaration of interests. Do members have any declaration of interest on any of the 2 applications?
No, Chair.
I would like to ask everyone participating to introduce yourself as I call on you. I will call your first name, so we should have with us Matthew.
Good afternoon. Good morning, Chair. Matthew Phipps from TLT Solicitors. I'll be presenting the application this morning.
Thank you. We have Dominic.
Good afternoon. Good morning, sorry. Dominic Holmes, Olympia.
Thank you. We have Louise.
Chair, Louise is unable to attend. I did pass that information across to your team. My apologies for if that hasn't got to you. Daniel Seller to my left, your right, is here in attendance.
Okay, thank you. We have Andrew.
Hello, yes, I'm the Operations Director at Olympia.
Okay, we have Abby.
Good morning, Abe, Director of Hospitality at Olympia.
Okay, we have Tom.
I know Tom came along to the hotel applications, Chair, but wasn't coming along to this.
Okay. We have Adrian.
Good morning, Chair. Present, Adrian Overton, Licensing Manager.
Okay, we have Lorna.
Present, Chair. Lorna McKenna, Licensing Compliance Officer.
Okay, we have Gerta.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Gerta Kodela. I'm the solicitor for the council.
Okay, we have objecting or supporting. So no objectors have confirmed their attendance. So we have supporting number 1 Olympia Way, which is John Wellsgrove. John, is John?
Morning, councillors. That's right. I'm John Wellsgrove, representing Incipio, who are for 1 Olympia Way, the first on the agenda.
Okay. And are you going to be speaking on as well for Eddie and Cormac as well?
That's right. Ed is not here, just Cormac. But
okay.
Yes, I'll be speaking on their behalf.
Okay, thank you. Procedure. In addition to the main agenda, a supplementary agenda containing additional information was published on 2nd of May, 2024. Before we consider the application today, please may I quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow. This hearing will be considered 2 applications for various aspects of Olympia Exhibition Center as follows. 1, application requested for number 1 Olympia Way. 2, application requested for live launch. We will hear from the following for each application. The licensing officer will introduce the application. The objector stroke the supporter will speak. Finally, the applicant. Usually, each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following the presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party or any person present at the hearing, except committee members. No party has the right to ask questions of any other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their cases or representation. The committee will then retire for deliberation separately of each application. Upon its return, I will announce committee's decision. The process will be repeated 2 times for each of the 2 applications. Firstly, number one, first application requested for Olympia Way. Presenting officer, can I ask the presenting officer, Lorna, to introduce the application?
Yeah, Chair, before I introduce the application, I just need to make you aware that there was an item that was omitted from the supplementary agenda submitted by the applicant, which was a 19-page brochure for the second application being considered today, this morning.
Okay.
So I don't know if the applicant wants to.
Okay.
Yes, Chair. As I understand it, we're going to be doing One Olympia Way first.
Yeah.
The document actually is concerned with the second application live line. So can I suggest we pick that up when we commence the second application?
Okay. Can I ask get our solicitor what she suggests on this, because has this been published for the for people on our website for people to see this this application that it was
not as far as I'm aware. I wanted to double check with Amrita how long will it take to publish this 19-page document. So
it's not an easy thing for me to do during a meeting when I'm managing a meeting and live streaming at the same time.
I would suggest the chair for us to have 5-10 minutes, or how long it will take Amrita to publish, and then we'll reconvene.
Well, I'm not sure if I can publish something while I'm live streaming at the same time, because I'm using my laptop to live stream and manage the meeting, so I can't be, you know, publishing a supplementary agenda at the same time. So I'm not really sure of another way around it. I've never published a supplementary during a meeting.
And is somebody from committee services able to help?
Charles is in appeals and David's off sick, and yeah, there's nobody else.
May I help, Chair, or try and help? Let's proceed without it. I will make some commentary about not so much the document, but some of the content of the document, but I can pick that up in my oral submissions. I'm sensitive to the fact that these things are never easy, and I think that rather than try and derail the hearing this morning, as it sounds it might, let's proceed to the second hearing in due course after we've concluded One Olympia Way, and I think we will just pick it up in oral submissions. What I might ask is just perhaps for an extra minute on the allotted 5 minutes, just to touch on some of the issues that it would have otherwise raised.
Thank you, Matthew. The thing is that we need to have this published on our website so that
I think what Matthew is saying is, for him, he's happy not to have it published, or for you to review that. He will summarize it in a minute or so, if you are happy to proceed on those bases, Chair.
Exactly right, Chair. I think by the sound of things, we'll presume it's not there, but I might ask just for an extra minute just to address you.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Chair, just to say, alternatively, I think Debbie from Committee Services has offered to say that she could potentially publish it, but it sounds like there may be a resolution anyway. But if we did need it published, there might be someone who can help there.
Okay. In that case, thank you, Adrian. We can still publish it, but we like Matthew have said, let's Matthew explain to us as well. Okay, so I think then we have to carry on then. I think. Gertrude, what do you suggest here?
I'm happy for it not to be published, and for Matthew just to have a bit of a summary of what that document is entailing. So but obviously it's
okay. Okay. In that case, I go along with that. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to publish it. Matthew can explain it. So okay. In that case, we still have our officer to present, Lorna, to present the case.
Thank you, Chair. On the 26th of February 2024, TLT solicitors submitted an application on behalf of Olympus Property Holdings Limited, the applicant, for a provisional statement for the area of the development known as 1 Olympia Way, Olympia Exhibition Centre, Hammersmith Road, London, W148UX. A provisional statement provides applicants with a means of establishing whether a premises that is being or about to be constructed or altered for the provision of licensable activities, would it be granted a premises license after the building works are complete. The applicant is proposing to operate the premises as a multifunctional space and all-day dining at the entrance of future Olympia. The site will also have links to the National Hotel, which is located above, and to the exhibition halls. The applicant has applied for the following licensable activities: the sale of alcohol both on and off the premises, Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 10 a.m. till 11 p.m. The playing of recorded music, indoors only, Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 10 a.m. till 11 p.m. and the provision of late night refreshment, indoors only, Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 11 till 11:30 p.m. The non-standard timings that have been applied for are the all licensable activities extended till 2 a.m. for New Year's Eve, with the premises closing 30 minutes thereafter, and the proposed opening hours for the premises are Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 8 a.m. and 11:30 p.m. The applicant has proposed a number of additional steps within their operating schedule to promote the 4 licensing objectives if the application is minded to be granted today. During the consultation period, the licensing section received 12 representations from local residents objecting to the grant of the licence applications. And the application also received 1 representation of support, which was received from Incipio Group in support of the application for 1 Olympia Way. I can also confirm, in addition to the main agenda, a supplementary agenda item 8 containing additional information from the applicant was published and circulated to all parties on the 2nd of May 2024. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now, can I have the supporter, John, to speak? John, you have 5 minutes.
I think, Chair, would it be better if Matthew first presented the application, and then if there are any additional points I need to make, I make those after Matthew, given that we are effectively repeating what he's going to be saying. So I don't want to steal his thunder in any way.
Matthew, do you want to have that? Because normally the applicant speaks last. So.
Yes. Chair, in the slightly unusual circumstances in which we find ourselves, I'm very happy to address you now as applicant.
Okay.
Would you like me to start?
No, you start. You have 5 minutes. Because I was going to allow you 10 minutes, but now you speak for 5 minutes. So
I'm happy to be held to 5. Thank you very much, Chair. So there are, before you and your colleagues, a significant volume of papers and reports, as you will have seen, and we say unashamedly that they disclose very significant consideration of all of the issues that you would expect us to be deliberating upon. It's fair to say, for you and Councillor Stanton's benefit, they are similar, but not the same as materials with which you'll be familiar from the 2 hotel applications. But of course, first of all, we're a differently constituted committee today, and I'm entirely respectful of that. And secondly, each application is to be considered on its individual merits. It's an application for 1 Olympia Way. It's a previously licensed premises, and actually was a Pizza Express for a number of years, servicing and supporting the main exhibition space. That's touched on in the submissions on page 66 of the supplementary agenda. I'm not going to ask you to turn to each page, but I will give you the page references, as it may help when you come to retire later for your deliberations. But the hours and licensable activities previously permitted were actually in excess of that which we have now applied for. And there are significantly more modern conditions proposed to assist in the operation of this premises. The hours are in line with your policy, and that's set out in the agenda at page 9. The hours are in line with premises locally, and that is set out on page 75 of the agenda. The hours are in line with the Westfield licenses that we have some research undertaken upon, and that's a developed document from 2 weeks ago. There are a number of new businesses referenced within that, and that's in the supplementary agenda at page 46. I entirely appreciate it may be said that with each application being on its individual merits, Westfield is of no concern today, but you'll appreciate it was raised in the representations. And it's also entirely in line with the planning permission, and that's set out on page 62 of the supplementary agenda. It is a business proposed to operate underneath the Citizen M Hotel. It's Unit 11, and that is set out on page 22 of the supplementary agenda in the presentation. There are obligations on the tenants and operators of the various units. That is set out on paragraphs 48 and 49 of the submissions on page 15 of the supplementary agenda as regards noise. There is before you now a public realm document, page 48 of the supplementary agenda, and that attends to a variety of issues of significance and discloses, we say unashamedly, significant responsibility being taken for the development of Olympia. And we say it's a, if you will, window into the soul of the development and the applicant. That is supported by a traffic management plan, supplementary agenda page 55. There are a significant volume of conditions, which we say in line with your policy are the appropriate measures that you would expect to see where there are concerns raised. And the residents themselves ask on a number of occasions in the representations for appropriate measures. There was significant pre-application consultation with the officers. You'll be familiar with paragraph 912 set out in the submissions. There was significant residential engagement, 7,000 residents engaged repeatedly over the course of the last several years. The policy is touched on in our supplementary papers at page 33. And in all the circumstances, we invite you to the conclusion that this is a perfectly legitimate application to grant and to grant in the terms requested. I think I just sneaked in on time.
You did, thank you. Can I ask John now to 5 minutes? John, you have 5 minutes to add more or to do your presentation.
Thank you, Councillor. In respect of the Incipio group, I draw your attention to our representation at page 109 to 111 of the agenda. Again, like Matthew, I don't ask you to turn to that now, but please reflect on that when making your decision. And in respect of the supporting documents that Incipio provided alongside those representations, specifically pages 139 to 142 relate to Olympia Way. Obviously, the other pages relate to the other premises which are being dealt with on the 28th of May. I'm just going to make some key points in support of the grant of this application, which first of all is that none of the responsible authorities have made any representation to the application. And obviously, as an experienced committee, you know you must attach weight to that fact, given the responsible authorities under the Section 182 guidance are considered to be the experts on each of the licensing objectives. As Matthew said, the premises has previously been licensed as Pizza Express and operated with longer hours than we're applying for. Of the concerns raised in the residents' letters of representations, we say there is nothing credible before you this morning that would lead you to conclude that granting the provisional statement and hopefully subsequently the premises license would have any adverse effect on the licensing objectives. The landlord has been extremely careful in putting together this development, and my client Incipio have worked alongside them to put forward proposals for a number of premises, but in respect of one Olympia Way to be as you will have read from the papers, an Italian restaurant in effect. So as Matthew commended, I ask you to grant the application as we've applied, or they have applied for, with the conditions which are entirely appropriate. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us.
Thank you very much, John. Now, can I ask committee members to ask questions of any party about application and issues that has been raised at the hearing in relation to 4 licensing objectives? Please, councillors, any questions?
I have 1 or 2 very small questions, Chair, if I may. Thank you to those who have spoken already. I would say, just to those who are in the Olympia room, other than the vertigo your camera position is giving us, it's slightly difficult to hear you. There's a bit of echo, so I don't know if anything can be done about that, either now or at a later date. Thank you. My question relates to the off-license request for 1 Olympia Way. I just wanted to get an idea. Are you intending to do deliveries from 1 Olympia Way, or will it only be dine-in and the off? Well, if you could explain why the off-license request has been put in, but also just give us an idea about the business model there.
Suspect that's for Incipio to answer. As you would expect for any restaurant, they would ordinarily apply for the provision of off sales as well, so that, for example, if someone has a bottle of wine with their meal and it's unfinished, they're able to then take that bottle with them rather than either leave it or consume it quickly.
Yeah.
There isn't any intention currently to do deliveries from those premises.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I think actually that's possibly it for me. Can somebody confirm, is the Citizen M Hotel the national hotel, or is that a separate hotel? So we just.
So I can help with that. Forgive me if I'm now shouting, but yes, that's exactly right. It's essentially the same building, but the Citizen M Hotel, as you may recall, effectively only starts on the first floor. This is, if you will, the ground floor, and it's underneath the building. Well, it's the same building, but it's the floor underneath.
Okay, no, thank you. No, I thought that was the case. Just one final question, and really this is just to make sure that I've understood the plans correctly. Is the red lined area is on 2 floors? Presumably the ground floor is effectively what was Pizza Express. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. So the first floor just seems to be a stairwell. Is this just allowing for connection to the hotel, or have I misread the plan? There's actually function space there on the first floor.
No, it's intended that the upper floor, which is literally the sort of the lobby, as it were, in that stairwell, is not connected to the hotel. It's a separate demise, and that might be used for private dining, potentially.
Okay, fine. It just looked too small for anything substantial like that. But, so I'm sure I can. There are so many pages. Here we go.
So it's 45, 46.
Yeah, I've got that. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
It's slightly off the plans point, but do you mind if I just make a brief point? One of the conditions proposed on the licence is that any alcohol taken away from the premises must be in sealed containers only. So corks back in, tops back on.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'd seen that, but thank you for drawing it to my attention. Okay, nothing else from me just for now, Chair. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Chevalier.
Thank you, Chair. My first question would be to the applicant, and my second question would be to the licensing authority about previous licenses. Just to open with, I think it's always my personal preference that we hear applicants begins to remind us how to do our job and why we're constrained into approving an application rather than being told how this will benefit the community, particularly when we've heard, when we read packed with so many representations. So here's a piece of feedback. So I'm going to stay with the applicant. You've said in your 5-minute statement, Michael, that you've engaged 7,000 residents. What's your definition of engagement?
So there is a report, and look, forgive me if my presentation appeared a little overbearing. If that's feedback, I'll happily take. But there is a report that really sets out precisely the nature of the engagement. That starts at page 38 of the supplementary agenda and runs to a number of pages. I'll counter you through that if I may. But there on page 40, you'll see there have been 40 engagement events in the last 7 years. There's been a postal database of some 7,000 people with an email engagement with 500. There have been 4 public consultation events, hundreds of conversations, 200 feedback forms submitted. There have been meetings at which I think 70, 80, 200 people have attended on a number of occasions. That, as you will see from page 43, has touched on all of the licensing elements and has been through the course of this year. And there's an extract of one of the letter drop letters at the back of that report. So we say, without any embarrassment, it has been very significant indeed. You may very well have sat on other applications where there's been a letter drop or something like that. This has been an ongoing significant dialogue for years.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, to say that 7,000 addresses have been leafleted and 500 emails emailed, that's fine. But I think what's very interested is the 200 feedback forms. And to kind of, could you tell us more about how specifically with, because I mean, full disclosure, you know, I lived close enough to Shipless Bush Market. I've seen EU Capital and its engagement strategy. I'm vice chair of the planning committee, so I've approved planning permissions for the Olympias. This is an applicant that I know well, but I thought that this was particularly sort of, I wish I had more specialist information about this particular information rather than the overall process, which I know you've put on a massive engagement campaign, but specifically about these applications, we would have wanted to see a bit more information on that. Don't respond to that. I'll move on to a question to the licensing authority. This is to understand, so the applicant in its statements and also in the pack have let us know that their previously was Pizza Express. We probably have all seen it there at One Olympia Way at the corner where the live venue entrance will be. Now, I don't know if this is true. It's hard to find the information. I couldn't find it on the licensing website. I did go on a food website and it said that the Pizza Express was open until, so it was open Monday, Sunday, 11:30 to 10. Lorna or Adrian, I don't know who wants to take this. Could you let me know exactly what the Pizza Express licensing hours were?
Yeah, if you just give me a moment, I'll just have a look on the system. Sure,
and I suppose that I think we've been told that the previous license had been surrendered. So what was there a, meanwhile used, was there a license grant for something else prior to this application and after Pizza Express closing?
If we may, we can answer that question whilst the officers look for that response. So we've been undertaking construction works between the Pizza Express vacation and surrender of license and now, when we're hoping to open in the next 9 months.
Sorry, could you say that again?
So yes, we've been undertaking construction work between the surrender of the license as Pizza Express and opening as a new venue. So there's been no opportunity for a meanwhile use. It's been closed for work.
Okay, and pending, you've clarified, I think, page 66 of the additional report, which says that the previously licensed hours were permitted until past midnight. Is that, do you confirm
that's right? The license, well, Lorna will find the license for you now, but she kindly provided it to me about 3 weeks ago, and so I've got, if anybody can't find it, I've got a copy on my laptop. So I didn't candidly think you'd thank me for producing it, bearing in mind the volume of papers that attend to these various applications, but and particularly because it's a surrendered license, so it's background, if you will, only. But that was from the original surrendered license that your officers kindly provided.
Okay, well, Lorna, will give you a few more minutes to look for it. I'll stay with the applicant for another question. Was to understand, I think there's a package of conditions that are comprehensive in there, and in your report you talk about engagement with the statutory authorities. So I was wondering if you could tell me more about how you've engaged with statutory authorities, and which specifically if the conditions have been amended as a result of this engagement, please.
Yes, the original in November, toward the end of November and through the course of December and January, there was engagement with the licensing authority through Adrian, who's obviously on the call, and he will speak to you to that, and then with the Metropolitan Police licensing team. That took the form of a significant number of emails. There was back and forth with a draft application, some comments, some finesses. I couldn't, I'm afraid, off the top of my head, tell you precisely which conditions had been finessed. Certainly, I can say that in the context of those premises, about which this is not one, where there was proposed to be delivery, the police asked for a finesse to the conditions so that deliveries were made to residential or commercial addresses only. There were also a number of Teams and Zoom calls, I would say probably no more than 6, where we looked at the application and applications, and then effectively we came to a position of having a signed off is the wrong phrase, but an application that didn't cause concern, with a schedule of conditions that then formed part of the submission of the application.
Thank you.
I ought to add that there was also then what I'll call an all-parties meeting with all of the responsible, or a significant volume of the responsible authorities. I don't believe the Immigration Service was there, but certainly health and safety engaged, environmental health engaged, and a number of other, I think, Metropolitan Police officers engaged. Again, candidly, Adrian and Lorna will know the specific names and details of their colleagues who attended that. And that was another Teams call. The emails followed, but not representations.
Okay, thank you very much. And did you say we've seen the condition for bona fide addresses? Does that exclude? I don't think that would be a good thing. I would be in favour of changing that. But does that exclude deliveries to the hotels that would be on site? As in, because that wouldn't be a commercial or residential address.
Well, candidly, I suspect John would be in a better position to answer that. The National Hotel will have a bar and some food provision. The Hyatt, which is the Emberton House Hotel, will be serviced, license permitting, by the Pillar Hall building, which is in much closer proximity to it, and with which there will be a formal tie-up. So candidly, I anticipate that if hotel guests wanted to come to this unit, they would literally come to this unit rather than ring it and get a delivery. But John may correct me on that.
Is John still around?
Sorry. Yes, I am. Yes, sorry about that. Yes, as I said, there wasn't currently an intention for the premises to do deliveries. I mean, obviously, in terms of licensable activities, we're talking about the alcohol. So whether people in the future from the hotel order a pizza for delivery to their hotel room, that wouldn't obviously be relevant to the condition, which is specifically about alcohol. So we wouldn't be expecting hotel guests to be ordering alcohol when they're obviously in the hotel and have access to that in any event. And as I say, whilst there isn't currently an intention to do deliveries, that's not to say that we may choose to do that in the future, which is why there are relevant conditions in the operating schedules regarding delivery.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Yeah. So several answers I might.
Okay, thank you.
Lorna, can I just interrupt just for 1 second, Chair? Just with relation to that response, I believe that late night refreshment has actually been requested, which is licensable.
You're right. Yes, my apologies. Yeah, late night refreshment till 11:30. So yes, it would include that as well.
Thank you. And can I just, this is a question to either Goethe or licensing, which is, as has been explained earlier today, this is not an application for a license, but a provisional statement. Should the intention for delivery or non-delivery service to be generally available change between now and the actual application, would that be something that would be significant enough to require a fresh application, or would that kind of pass through on the decision made today?
I think it's for Goethe.
Yeah, I can help you, Councillor, with that. If there are significant changes in the application for the license in the future, then they will need to apply for a fresh application. It will go through the process. People can still complain, objectors can complain about those applications. If the application submitted will be the same as the application we are considering tonight, then the whole process of going through the objectors will not be relevant.
Yes, thank you. But
for example, if the late night refreshment will change, so are you thinking of late night refreshment being removed in the future?
Well, no, what I was thinking
was,
sorry, well, no, but what we've been told is that the proposed restaurant, there was no intention for it to offer a delivery service, for instance. But if that should change, which wouldn't necessarily change the application, merely the use of it, would that be something that will be considered?
I think that will be a significant change, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, before I carry on,
sorry, since I'm talking, I wanted also to clarify one of the conditions that we were talking about, the deliveries. And I noticed, and we were going to mention it later in the afternoon session, some of the conditions about delivery to bona fide addresses have been amended by the police. I did not see a condition for One Olympia similar to those applications. Is the intention to have the same condition, John or
Matthew?
No, the police wrote to us about a specific number of applications. This was not one.
What I would say is, obviously, if the concern about deliveries in your deliberation is key, then we, as in Scipio, would not be averse to that condition, the same condition being added to One Olympia Way. But obviously, it's not my application; it's for a provisional statement.
Okay, Lorna.
I've got the old license. Was there a specific licensable activity you wanted to know the times for, or just what it was? So specific, or just all the licensable hours? Sorry.
Okay.
Either. It's up to you.
So the old Pizza Express license was license for the performance of live music indoors, the playing of recorded music, the provision of late night refreshment indoors, and alcohol on and off the premises. So there was no restriction for the times of recorded music. Live music indoors was Monday to Saturday from 7 p.m. till midnight, and Sunday 7 p.m. till 11:30. The provision of late night refreshment indoors only was Monday to Saturday 11 p.m. till 12:30 a.m. and Sunday 11 p.m. till midnight. And then the sale of alcohol both on and off the premises was 10 a.m. till midnight, Monday to Saturday, and Sunday 12 midday till 11:30 p.m. And the opening hours of the premises was 10 a.m. till 12:30 a.m.
Sorry, could you repeat? I was furiously trying to take notes. Could you repeat the last one that you said was until 12:30?
So the sale of alcohol was, the opening hours, sorry, was Monday to Sunday from 10 a.m. till 12:30 a.m.
Yep. But the sale of alcohol stopped at half hour
Stopped
before
at
that.
yeah, half an hour before that. So the sale of alcohol Monday to Saturday was 10 a.m. till midnight, and then on a Sunday was 12 midday till 11:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I did have one or two questions. That's to John. John, you said Christmas and New Year's, you want them to open. Somebody's hand is up. Councillor, you still have a question?
No, happy to go after you, Chair.
Okay. You still said opening hours. You want for New Year to be up to 2:30 p.m. 2:30 a.m. Did I get it right? That's what I wanted to know from John.
Yeah, yes, Councillor, that's correct. That's what the application hours are.
Okay, it's up to 2. Why up to 2:30 for New Year's Day?
It's for New Year's Eve, for the night of New Year's Eve. So it was candidly relatively consistent to seek activities until 2 a.m. and then with 30 minutes drinking uptime.
Okay. All right. My other question is, we talked about delivery, but I'm talking the delivery I'm asking is delivery of foodstuff and collection of beans. So what are the hours for those ones?
So that would be limited, Councillor, to the late night refreshment permission in the application. So that has to terminate at 11:30 at night, 23:30.
That is, what of if they're going to deliver food for them to sell? Do you know what time that will be? Or because if we are going to grant all this, I want to know what we are granting. The hours for collection and the hours for delivery of beans and foodstuffs.
Yeah, sorry, do you mean, forgive me, you don't mean delivery as in a pizza, you mean
No, delivery of foodstuffs.
Andrew will help you with that. Sorry, Chair.
Right, the first point is the deliveries and the waste from this unit is served from the indoor service yard. Okay. So it's not from the street, and we will be consolidating the waste. We are saying that we won't take waste away from site after 10 o'clock at night. The exact hours of delivery, it's likely to be in the mornings. Most food comes into these units in the morning. The exact time of that I can't yet confirm.
Okay, I hope it's not that too early, like 5 o'clock. Or I got cold, so forgive me. It's not going to be quite early in the morning, so that the residents are not. There'll be no noise pollution for them. Okay. You can't say. Okay. Well, the other issue is
it's likely to go up to 7 o'clock, but you know, we and I think as part of the planning, we have to come back with loading bay operating hours.
Okay.
Prior to
all right. Okay, that's fine. Do you think you're going to the restaurant, Miss John? Are they going to have supervisors at the door? Do you know? Does he know?
I'll let Cormac answer that question. I mean, as you would expect, generally with the restaurant, you will have meters and greeters to show people who've booked and show them to their tables. But Cormac may be able to add some detail as to how guests will be welcome to the restaurant.
Okay.
Thank you. Our intention would be to use meters and greeters within the restaurant. We will risk assess as to whether or not door supervisors are required. But at this stage, given the nature of the business, I would not expect them to be required.
Okay, all right. In terms of litters, if there's a litter around your premises, Cormac, how will that be addressed? Litters?
Apologies, Chair. I didn't understand the question.
You know, at times people will litter around
loitering around the premises.
No, litters like dropping food bags or whatever. And are you going to be going around to pick them up?
absolutely, from a curbside point of view, we'll keep the premises clean and clear at all times.
Okay, all right.
And Chair, I can just help just in the context of the wider scheme. You will see from the public realm document starting page 48 of the supplementary agenda, there's quite a bit of material just about how the whole will be managed, touches on CCTV, security, waste, noise, logistics, but it also does touch on cleaning, waste management, collection, and so forth. So yes, in the sort of second layer over and above, Cormac's operations will be from Olympia at large.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. Members, any more questions from you? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. This is a question that pertains to your people dispersal strategy, and it kind of is relevant for all the applications we're going to hear today. But so for most of the applications that you've asked us for, and you're about to ask us for today, the kind of closing time is sort of 11 end of service, closing time 12:30. We've seen in the enforcement section of the report, see Moncler came around, concerts, etc. You've had a history of people dispersion kind of incidents. This is obviously going to be now the Olympia on a much grander scale with all the businesses, hotels, etc. Added. So could you tell me a bit more how you're going to be coordinating with other businesses, other licensed areas, how to disperse people, how to make sure that they don't congregate, that they don't cause trouble for residents?
Yeah, yes, Councillor. So we've done our best to set that out in right. I'll come to the specifics of the question in a moment. We've done our best to set that out in some part in both the Public Realm Management Plan and in the Transport Management Plan. The one starts on page 48 of the supplementary, the other starts on page 55. And there is specifically on page 53 reference to dispersal and so forth. Obviously, each premises will come to be licensed and will be managed by the individual premises license holder, and that will be effectively overlaid, for want of a better phrase, by us as landlord and developer, working with the various tenants and operators. You will see from the submissions there's some reference to the obligation.
I can't see myself. Please come.
Sorry, which is overlaid effectively by our proposals for the greater scheme, if you will, management. The hours in its simplest form are essentially in line with the planning permissions that have been granted, and that's the explanation for the hours in its roundest sense.
Okay, and on page 53, you say that further improvements in the rail service have been secured with TfL. The Olympia station is not, at least the district and city line, not always open. Well, even throughout the day, really. So, is that something that's going to change? Are you going to have more trains coming to and from Olympia station?
So yes, there will be. We've agreed some heads of terms with Transport for London to increase the overground train provision to one roughly every 7.5 to 8 minutes. The district line is a bit more of a struggle because of the impact it has on the Wimbledon branch and the Richmond branch. But we'll continue to work with Transport for London to encourage more journeys. There are some journeys, early mornings and early evenings, and some unscheduled journeys during the day, depending on the wider network provision, and also sometimes for events on the weekends that they're put on the district line as well. But what we find is that the majority of people, when we have a large volume of people, will come from all of the local tube stations. West Kensington is heavily used because of the district line and the Piccadilly line at Barons Court, as well as people walking and using the overground to get from Shepherd's Bush, not to mention Hammersmith and High Street Kensington. So a large variety of the local train and underground stations are used, as well as the buses, and more people using bikes as well.
Okay, and I think it was Councillor Stanton who was telling us about how the building has been redone inside, and there are now sort of pathways that people can use. For people to go around the site to the Olympia, well, obviously for number one, that's less relevant because it's very close. But for other places, are people able to circulate from inside the building, or will everyone have to egress through a licensed premise entrance and then go around the building? So I suppose one of the questions I was going to ask for the next one, but I can ask now because that'll still be relevant for all of those, is the sort of, what was the sort of total floor space of the Olympia prior, and its kind of capacity in welcoming guests, and what will it be now?
So the total floor area before redevelopment was around 1 million square feet, 100,000 square meters, and it will be circa 2.2 million square feet, 220,000 square meters. The key difference between Olympia as it was and as it will be is that the only public entrance was the Pizza Express building. This unit, One Olympia Way. Everywhere else you needed a ticket in order to get into or out of Olympia. One of our key focuses on the new Olympia has been to enhance public access. Normally, people can pass through the site now at our Sky Garden level, so people can freely move up the escalators, up the lift, up the stairs, and walk through the site, past some of the units that we'll be talking about later on, and down or up along Hammersmith Road, roughly opposite Tesco's. There's another set of stairs and entrances there. So there will still be ticketed entrances, obviously, for the exhibitions at ground floor and first floor, as well as the music venue, the theatre, and then other licensable areas such as the hotels and the restaurants and the bars, as well as the offices, which will require visitor badges or links to the businesses who are tenants there. But there's a much greater permeability, which was a really big focus for us and the designers for the scheme.
Right, that's good to hear. And in terms of people capacity, how many people was it for a good night previously, and how many people would you hope for on a good night in the future? And obviously, I appreciate, again, we're here on the licensing hearing for One Olympia Way, and we've seen the red lines, but the overall site.
It varies week in, week out. Obviously, we have the capacity of 20,000.
About 20,000, yeah.
20,000 if all the exhibition halls were full, but that's very rare.
Incredibly rare, and that would be spread across the day. So that's 20,000 at any time. So, but what happens in exhibitions is that you have a certain dwell time, and people come and they leave. In exhibitions, it's kind of how it works. And actually, with restaurants, you have that sort of slightly more. You don't have that hard stop necessarily of people coming and going and coming and going.
So in one moment, how many people would leave at one moment? Then there were events which you referred to, like the Montclair event, where we've had 10,000 people leaving or arriving at a similar time. In an event where it's unlikely we'll be doing music events in the main hall with that capacity in the future. We have our own music hall as part of the development. And if you added up the capacity of the music venue and the theatre and the restaurants, the total would be about 7,000 people at absolute max capacity. But of course, they'll all be leaving at different times and carefully managed by Andrew and Abe and their teams onto public transport and away as quietly as possible. So a different management structure, but also very different events which will be closing at different times to help with that.
So as we've heard previously, the overlaying means that all businesses operating on the Olympia would align their people disbursement and closure strategy in order to sort of, well, not just align, but there would be a central function provided by the owner of the site so that all businesses disperse and, right.
Yeah. So the individual business will have a responsibility to ensure people leave their premises safely, but we, as the estate owner and operator, will make sure that we take overall responsibility for the site egress and safety.
Do you, when you say we'll make sure, can you say to me there will be, if someone takes a lease with you, a requirement for them to sort of comply with orders coming from a central function, or is it best endeavours?
So,
well, forgive me, without being able to quote them, my understanding in its simplest terms is not best endeavours. There are provisions within the leases, but you will also appreciate that not all the leases are yet signed, but there are provisions in leases more generally that effectively allow for forfeiture of the agreement if compliance is not delivered. That I'm bound to tell you, to be fair, that's obviously at the extreme end. One does not default instantly to forfeiture very often. There are measures, discussions, dialogue, improvement plans, action plans, very much in line with the sort of enforcement concordat that you'd be familiar with in a premises license environment. But ultimately, forfeiture is a landlord's option if compliance is not delivered.
The various operators are already working with us, and they are very keen. In fact, they're talking to us about the events calendar that they want us to be operating. They don't want to be egressing at the same time as each other. And what we will be doing is making sure that that flow of information flows between all the different operators in the estate, and we'll be bringing those people together to do everything we can to optimise access and egress, because that makes our life easier, it makes life better for local residents, it makes life better for the operators. So it's in everybody's interest that we really proactively manage this, let alone the statutory authorities, who I'm sure will want us to do it too.
No, that's brilliant. I think as much as you do, we want the Olympia to be a success. From a resident's point of view, who will I be able to, because essentially we're building and allowing to operate a small village with a high variety of stakeholders, and it won't always be, when you see a person on the street causing noise or an ASB, you don't automatically know whether they've had a pizza or a beer or a kebab. So if I were a resident living around, I've got customers, either too many people coming out that's really making a lot of noise, is there a central function that I'll be able to talk to? I'm not saying affix it to every window, but if I go to the Olympia website, will there be somewhere that I can talk to someone where I feel like at certain times there's too many ASBs or too many people coming out, at least not necessarily to get changed on the spot, but at least to engage and have someone listen to those concerns?
In answer to your question, yes. We are manning the site 24/7. We're managing the site collectively through a company that's been set up by the owners, owned by the owners. We're not outsourcing that, and that company will be responsible for the management of the estate and give a single point of contact.
Great. With contacts that will be made available externally.
Yes.
Publicised how on the website or?
Yes, there'll be a route through the website, and as I say, we will have the site manned 24/7.
I just would add, obviously, we touched on this a little earlier, but there's obviously been some significant engagement already. That engagement doesn't stop, if you will, at the end of the licensing process, or indeed the development process. It's anticipated that that engagement will continue for a site of this significance. That's entirely proper. And so, although I'm sure there'll be facilities on the website, the relationships and dialogue will be continuing into the future. And to be fair to the Olympia operations at an exhibition level, as they do now. So there are meetings, dialogue, discussion, email and so forth with a variety of residents associations, and indeed some cases specific residents as well, if issues are brought to their attention.
We also aspire to have online-based app or web platform, which will include obviously links to phone numbers, to live chat with the estates team, but be a more sort of customer-friendly communication opportunity, hopefully, which will augment that and mean that there is, responses very quickly. That's something we're working on at the moment.
Good. That was that's good responses, and thank you for going into detail over all these topics. Chair, I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor. Following up what Councillor Chevede mentioned, for residents, another issue is about light pollution. So, being big Olympia, there might be advertisements with lights. So how do we intend to control that so that residents are not, the lights are not too much intrusive into their rooms, especially at night?
I'll take this. So obviously we have wayfinding throughout the estate, which allows people to find their way on and off the estate. After hours, obviously, the lights will be dimmed on that. In terms of signage, a lot of the signs around the estate are unilluminated. So generally, light pollution is not an issue with that. And obviously, when restaurants close, the lights go off. Across the estate, generally, if the other uses have light systems that obviously that can detect movement and motion and only come on when people are in occupation of those units.
We have to seek planning consent for any advertising and lights, given obviously the nature of the uses, but also particularly given the heritage of the buildings. It's a really important point for planning officers as well. So it will be monitored and controlled through the planning process.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for everyone. Thank you. Now, councillors, any more questions? No, now I'm going to go up to summing up. Please, can the parties sum up briefly as possible in the following order? The licensing officer, Lorna, you have 3 minutes to sum up.
Nothing further to add, Chair.
Okay. And then can we have, since we don't have objectors, can I have the supporter, John, to sum up 3 minutes, please?
Likewise, Chair, nothing further to add. Thank you, though.
Okay. Can I ask the applicant, Matthew, 3 minutes to sum up, please?
Thank you, Chair. Just some quick observations and hopefully less than 3 minutes. So just in the context of the application and the concerns that are articulated, as your policy clearly sets out, where there is a risk of adverse impact, you look firstly to the measures and controls that will be in place in order to ensure that the licensing objectives are promoted. And through the course of both the pre-application consultation, the absence of officer objection, the conditions that are proposed, the public realm overlay, as I will call it, and the transport overlay, which are all in front of you. I say those are points of very real comfort to you. Your policy goes on to talk about the powers of control, closure, review and enforcement, about which you will all be familiar. In the context then finally of the evidence bundle, we say unashamedly that the materials fairly attend to the points that are put against us by the 12 residents who've served representations, and these points are all, I trust it's acceptable to say, fairly developed within the submissions, both the overarching submissions for the development and then the specific submissions that attend to this individual application. And so as a final observation, we say that this application is a perfectly legitimate application to grant as applied for in all circumstances.
Thank you. Now, deliberation going to take about 10 minutes to do our deliberation. The committee will now retire to take decision from this application in a separate meeting room. You are welcome to remain in the meeting to hear committee's decision. If you don't want to wait, a summary decision will be published on council's website by tomorrow morning. Can I ask members to turn off their mic, mute their phone and turn off their microphones and join me in a different meeting, please? Thank you. Hello?
Hi, looks like everyone's back in the room, Chair.
Okay. Okay. Summary decision of License Subcommittee, 7th May 2024, number 1 Olympia Way Exhibition Center, Hammersmith Road, W14, 8UX, the premises. The committee has considered an application for a provisional statement for the sale of alcohol on and off the premises, the playing of recorded music, the provision of late night refreshments indoors only under the Licensing Act 2003. The application, in summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of 4 licensing objectives to 1, grant the proposed opening hours of the premises as follows: Monday to Sunday between 8 o'clock to 23:30 hours. 2, grant the proposed hours for the provision of licensable activity as follows: the sale of alcohol, both on and off the premises, Mondays to Sundays between 10 a.m. to 23 hours. The playing of recorded music indoors only, Mondays to Sundays between 10 o'clock to 23 hours. The provision of late night refreshments indoors only, Mondays to Sundays between 23 hours to 23:30 hours. Seasonal and non-seasonal standard timing. All licensable activities extended to 2 o'clock a.m. for New Year's Eve, with premises closed 30 minutes thereof. 3, attach proposed conditions by applicants. The licensable activities granted as referred above would come into effect when the application for premises license will be submitted and approved by the council. The premises construction shall be completed in a manner which substantially complies with the schedule of works referred to the application and accompanied by plans. A copy of the committee's full decision, including setting out details of decision together with reasons, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If the applicants or other persons who has made a relevant representation is unhappy with the terms of the provisional statements issued, they are entitled to appeal to the magistrate court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full licensing. Thank you. So we now we are going into second application for leave lunch. Presenting officer, can I ask the presenting officer to introduce the application?
Yes, Chair. On the 26th of February 2024, TLT Solicitors submitted an application on behalf of Olympus Property Holdings Limited, the applicant, for a provisional statement for the area of the development known as the Live Lounge Banquet and Conference Facilities, the Olympia Exhibition Centre, Hammersmith Road, London, W148UX. The applicant proposes to operate the area as a live lounge and as a full service restaurant and bar with a mezzanine area, with a small staged area for entertainment, which will provide food and drinks for office occupiers and members of the public. In addition to the conference spaces, including an auditorium and a banqueting hall, breakout rooms and private rooms will also be able to be used. The applicant has applied for the following licensable activities: the sale of alcohol both on and off the premises, Monday to Sundays between the hours of 10 a.m. till 11:30 p.m. The provision of late night refreshment, both indoors and outdoors, Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 2300 hours till 23:30. And the regulated entertainment of plays, Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 10 a.m. till 23:30. The films between the hours of Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 10 a.m. to 23:30. Live music, Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 10 to 23:30. Recorded music, Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 10 to 23:30, and anything similar to music and dance, indoors only, Mondays to Sundays between the hours of 10 a.m. and 23:30. The non-standard timings that have been applied for are that all licensable activities will be extended till 2 a.m. on New Year's Eve/New Year's Day, with the premises closing 30 minutes thereafter. And the proposed opening hours for the premises are Monday to Sundays between the hours of 10 a.m. till midnight. The applicant has proposed a number of additional steps within their operating schedule to promote the 4 licensing objectives if the application is minded to be granted today. And during the consultation period, the licensing section received 12 representations from local residents objecting to the licence application. And in addition to the main agenda, a supplementary agenda A containing additional information was published on the 2nd of May 2024. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Lorna. Objectors, if your concern mentioned on the previous application are also relevant to the application, do you have any additional concerns or any other comments to add? Since we don't have objectors, so I'm going to go straight to the applicants, and which is Matthew. If your concern mentioned in the previous application are also relevant to this application, can you just do summary and add additional comments you want to raise on the application? You have 5 minutes to do that.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm very alive to the fact that the last thing I want to do is aggravate the committee by unnecessarily repeating myself or being too prescriptive. There will be some element of crossover, as I'm sure you'll understand, and obviously I'm sensitive to the fact that each application is to be considered on its individual merits, but I do get the point that talking to the benefits of the proposals would be something we would be well advised to develop. What I would like to do is I'm going to address you to start with in the slightly formal way that the 5 minutes permits, and then we will just, if you're happy with this, just develop the specifics about the live lounge. Appreciate you don't have the presentation, but Dan Sellell to my left, your right, will just speak to that at the conclusion. So this is effectively very much part and parcel of the office development above. If you're familiar with the site, you cannot fail to have seen the significance of the office development. 5,000 or more office workers anticipated. It's a facility and function space in significant part for those office workers and those businesses, both within the building itself and more generally locally. The part of this application effectively splits into 2 elements. One is a conference facility for presentations, conferences, perhaps product announcements, and so forth. It will be essentially a booked facility with attendees, businesses, and so forth being known. And when one comes to look at the plans in its simplest form, that is on the right-hand side of the plans as you look at it, and there will be a stage, a podium, opportunities to present, and so forth. On the left-hand side, there will be food, cafe, seating, tables and chairs, breakout facilities, meeting facilities, some enclosed in rooms, some more open within the open plan elements, with food, coffee, drinks available throughout. This part of the development is within the former exhibition space, effectively a licensed part of the Olympia development as a whole, with a 12 midnight conclusion in line with these premises. The application is both in line with your policy set out in the officer's report on mixed use space, premises locally, which you'll have seen from the map plan, planning and the Westfield. There are obligations on operations, tenants and so forth in order to deliver. I know a point that we developed a minute ago, but you will see within the papers that ASM are the proposed operators here. They are a national and international business of very real significance, and there's a little bit of an introduction to that business contained within the papers. I'll not go back through the same points, but in the context of the public realm elements, you will see that security, CCTV and so forth are points that are developed there in addition to waste, litter and dispersal earlier touched on. And this application was also developed in part through the pre-application consultation and dialogue with the Metropolitan Police and the authority officers. There are no officer concerns. The residential engagement point I'll not touch on again, but there is of course the report within the papers for you to consider, and we say that it has been appropriately conditioned. You will see that whilst a number of the conditions are similar, there are effectively bespoke and appropriate conditions for an operation of this sort. I hope that's a fair and sufficiently brief summary to introduce it and the papers properly, but I might just ask Dan just to give you a little bit of flesh on those rather bare bones, if I may.
Okay, so this was primarily designed as an amenity for the office occupiers. It is accessible to the public. The Live Lounge, which is a bit of a working title, is a full service restaurant serving breakfast, lunch and dinner in the evenings. It has a whole facility around that. On the other side of the office lobby is the conference centre. Both the restaurant is on one side of the office lobby and the conference centre on the other side. So basically these are amenities either side of the office lobby. The conference centre, again, focused around office occupiers primarily, but again, it will be able to be hired by members of the public. It can be used for end of year award ceremonies, product launches, wellness lectures, TED Talks, that type of thing. It has functions up on the mezzanine level. And again, this has been designed in so that, you know, your breakout areas, if you're at a conference, you know, you can go off into smaller seminar rooms, conference rooms, boardrooms, etc. All of that is facilitated up on the level 2 mezzanine area. And that connects into the Live Lounge restaurant as well. And again, in terms of separations of people flows, that is where you would register, that is where you would go to wait for your conference to start, so that the people flows of the office occupiers coming underneath and going around you would not clash with those uses. It has entrances to the public on level 2, off the office lobby, and at Hammersmith Road entrance off the ground level into a small lobby, and then up to level 2 or level 2 mezzanine. As Matthew said, it's going to be operated by ASM Global, who operate over 350 premier venues across the globe, and who are also operating the exhibition business. There are nice linkages into being able to use this facility for the exhibition business below, because we are delivering a new slab of exhibition space at level 1 within this building, and there's connectivity between the two as well. So that is how the operation is envisaged. Like I say, you'd be as a member of the public, come and get poached eggs on toast breakfast in the mornings. You don't have to be an office occupier, it is open to the public.
Okay. Okay, now committee questions. Do members have any questions? Okay, Councillor Stanton.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to the applicant. I only have one brief question, which is really just about the use of the conference area as an entertainment space rather than a conference space. In particular, the provision of music and some such. Could you just outline what the plans are for that? Because I see that there's a stage. I'm assuming the stage is more of a conference stage than a music stage, but if you could just sort of expand and let us know what that could be used for.
So yes, I suspect we'll both take this up, and I suspect this will naturally be the format of the day. I'll give you the slightly dry legalistic answer, and then Daniel will probably give you the slightly more developed answer. The application seeks to have entertainment, as it's anticipated that there will be some entertainment from the stage. There may be musical entertainment, whether that's part of the conference itself or indeed the presentation itself. But it might also involve the music school, which is part of the development as a whole. It's envisaged that there will be a close tie-up with the school. So if there were, for example, and this is a bit off the top of my head, I'll be the first to admit, but if there were an end-of-year performance as part of the school curriculum, and they were wanting the students to perform in front of an audience, then it's envisaged that that may be a facility that they would utilise. Dan, is that fair?
Yeah, it's a very small stage, just to say, in the live lounge. The conference clearly will have a stage for, talkers, speakers, etc. And again, yes, we envisage that the Wetherby Arts School will have pupils performing there, as well as, in the conference facility, product launches, talks, etc. This is not sort of a big performing stage. This is sort of the low-key, piano, single instrument, that type of thing, rather than a big band type of performance.
Yes, I suppose if I could put it another way, but it's candidly difficult to condition a license in this way. It's not the creation of a live music venue. Obviously, that's a feature of the development as a whole, but for another day. But the way in which the licensing process is set up, we've got to ask for the permission, otherwise we can't conduct the activity.
Thank you. The seating in the conference area, is that sort of auditorium stacked style, or is it just kind of removable banqueting chairs?
It's removable, so that we would be able to put theatre mode, where everyone's sort of facing the stage, or banquet tables. It's a flexible space in that regard.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Chair, that's it for me for now.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Any more questions?
Happy to go, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, my first question is on the element of queuing. So this site will be used, as you said to us, a performance site, which is fine. There's also a conference site, and conferences can welcome large numbers of people. We know from the enforcement section in this report that people outside have been an issue previously, but you tell us in supplementary agenda A on page 53 that you've actually extended space for queuing. So you've said over 3,000 square meters available at L2, further 2,900 available at Olympia Way, designated queuing accommodate over 6,000 people. But I'm just wondering, so you say both the theatre and live music venues combined. So is this queuing, this extra queuing space, is that going to be for this one, whatever, live lounge or garden, whichever we call it?
So I think that the straight one-word answer is no. What that is looking on the page 53 of the report is looking to what I'll call the rear, if you will, of the access points from ground floor level here, in terms of the front of the music venue and its interaction with the theatre, rather than this venue. I mean, that's not to say that there won't be consideration of any queuing, but I think that paragraph within the report is actually more focused on the what I'll call the internal courtyard, wrong phrase, as regards the exit or arrivals from the music venue, not this venue, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So in terms of visitor ingress and egress from Hammersmith Road, what's the volume of people you're expecting for this conference? Like, so you obviously you say there are amenities for people working in the offices around the site. So I'm assuming not all will come from the street, but if you have conferences, like you've said, you know, product demo, whatnot, these are externals coming in. So how are you going to manage people queuing, or what's the plan with that?
Yeah, I'll take this one. We're expecting the space to hold about 350, 400 people. So, so it's relatively small in comparison to quite a lot of things that happen on the sites. The entrance on Hammersmith Road does have 4 lifts and staircases which take us upstairs. And on level 2M, which is where Dan explained, you would hold a registration piece. You can easily hold those people in the foyer area. And you've been to conferences. The first thing you do is put your coat away and grab a coffee, and that will happen in that space. And then you'll go downstairs to that conference space that's been discussed here. Okay,
yeah, that's helpful to know. So would you normally sort of steward these people to enter the space throughout, you know, both entrances, or will it be just single entrance from Hammersmith Road?
Absolutely, we can spread them across 2 entrances, and it'll completely depend on sort of the time that items start. We would expect that with conferences you tend to get a sort of a 1-hour walk up, which over 350 people is quite a nice steady amount of people, and wouldn't create any queues anywhere.
Yes, indeed. But so we go back to this focal point of coordination between all the licensed areas, and how, you know, people will be planning, you know, I have this, you have this, how do we plan? Again, so we're in a separate hearing from the one that we were previously, but could you let me know, for instance, what specifically would be the way that the person managing this site would engage with the person managing the site next door when they know they've got 300 people coming for hopefully another fashion show or tech demo?
Absolutely. So we're going to run something called an event calendar, which will mean that Andrew's team specifically will know exactly what's going on in any timelines at any specific day, to make sure that he has got full visibility of that. Andrew, do you want to go to the next one?
Yes, so the objective is across all the different occupiers on the estate, we're going to have this calendar, and which will enable us to see the peaks, avoid peaks that are too high, and we'll be doing that by entrance, by location, so that we understand if there are likely to be conflicts. So if there's likely to be a conflict, yes, we'll send people in through 2 entrances to spread people. So what we've got to do is curate across all the different occupiers and keep the flows moving.
Brilliant. And is that events calendar also going to be taking into account the likelihood of people coming via Olympia Way through what you detailed in your response in the previous hearing, which was the change of times of the extra trains that could be put in place by TfL to accommodate the site? Meaning, basically, you wouldn't need so many people coming through Hammersmith Road if actually you could get them on rail through Olympia Station.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the site has got entrances in multiple locations. We're putting in very good wayfinding. But there is a benefit in people coming in the right entrances to go into the right parts of the scheme. Day to day, the conference facility, most people will come in through Hammersmith Road. If we are going to end up with multiple things making that a problem, yes, we will send people around in other directions. It's going to be a sort of proactive, dynamic process.
I think, if I might, and Andrew will be able to talk to the detail better than I am, but if in part the question is, will this be fully integrated so that the left hand knows precisely what the right hand is doing? Then I think that the one-word answer is yes, if I may say so.
That's good. That's reassuring. Another question I wanted to ask was around, we've heard from residents about the element of noise, and in both the main pack, page 1110, supplementary, page 53, tell us about how you've engaged with acoustic specialists and consultants. So I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about how, I appreciate this is relevant to the overall site, but this large site within the red line, how has that benefited from that engagement, and how will it ensure that noise is limited?
I mean, Dominic will probably be able to talk just to issues of construction and so forth, but the one point to make just about the whole operation of this unit is it is predicated effectively on people speaking. the very nature of the operations internally oblige people to be able to converse and engage. So in terms of noise generation internally, that is, if you will, the prism through which everything needs to be considered. But Dominic, in terms of construction, it just may be helpful just to explain a little.
Sure. So this is a fully obviously enclosed, double glazed space. It does have floor to ceiling glazing, which is treated with obviously environmental conditions and noise in mind. So we're not expecting loud noise on the scale of the theatre or the music venue. It's not designed for that level of noise, which involves structural and acoustic isolation construction, but it is well designed to ensure that any activities in the conferencing or this space will not be impacted by each other or indeed disturb events below or above with the office workers. So very important for our own quality of environment within the building itself, not to disturb each other. So that will inevitably mean that it doesn't, it's inaudible externally.
So you're on mute.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your response. That's helpful. You have said to us the main use of the site is people speaking, conferences, etc. But you are applying for films, live music, and music and dance. So there could be instances, but you're planning on potentially turning this into a performance venue, and therefore the sound is higher than speaking. So that was the nature of my question. And finally, last question is, well, again, as we've heard in the previous hearing, we've heard that you've had 200 forms returned by residents as a result of engagement sessions. I was wondering if you could tell us, in fact, give us one example of such form that's been returned, where feedback has been taken on board and where your application has changed as a result prior to being submitted.
So we've engaged on licensing specifically on the last 4 or 5 resident consultation sessions. One example of feedback given was about external light pollution, and we've made sure certainly where we can that there, as we alluded to in the earlier hearing about automatic lights going off when there is no one in occupation. So that is something that we've made sure we've incorporated in the building. But actually the level of feedback was much less about licensing, interestingly, in the engagement sessions, and more about design and construction aspects, which we received feedback on. So there was only one example of, I think we recorded, of feedback on the licensing specifically.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's it for me, Chair.
Thank you. Any more questions? Because I haven't got any. Thank you. Now, sum up. Do parties have anything further to add? Can I ask the licensing officer to sum up?
Nothing further to add, Chair.
Thank you. We have no objectors in attendance. Then can I ask the applicant to sum up?
Thank you, Chair. Only really one sentence. It is very comprehensively conditioned and considered, this application. It's very much part of the elements above, below and behind, and we'd invite you to grant the application.
Okay, thank you. Now we have to go into deliberation. The committee will retire to take its decision for the application in a separate meeting room. You are welcome to remain to the meeting to hear the committee's decision. If you do not want to wait, a summary decision will be published on council website tomorrow morning. Can I ask the members to turn off their video and mute their phones and Hello.
Hi, Chair. I think we're all
Everybody in? Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Summary decision for the licensing subcommittee. 7th May 2024. The live launch banquet and conference facilities, Olympia Exhibition Center, Hammersmith Road, London W14 S8UX. The committee has considered an application for a provisional statement for the sale of alcohol, both on and off the premises, the provision of late night refreshments, both indoors and outdoors, and plays, films, live music, recorded music, anything similar to the music and dance, indoors only, under the Licensing Act 2003. The application, in summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of 4 licensing objectives, to 1, grant the provisioned hours the premises is opened to the public. Opening hours Monday to Sundays between 10 a.m. to 12 midnight. 2, grant the proposed hours for the provision of licensable activities as follows: the sale of alcohol, both on and off the premises, Mondays to Sundays between 10 a.m. to 23 to 30 hours. Late night refreshments, both indoors and outdoors, Mondays to Sundays between 23 hours to 23:30 hours. Plays, films, live music, recorded music, anything similar to music and dance, indoors only, Mondays to Sundays between 10 a.m. to 23:30 hours. Seasonal and non-seasonal timings. All licensable activities extended to 02:00 hours. On New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve with the premises closed 30 minutes afterwards. All proposed conditions by applicants. The licensable activities grants as referred above will come into effect when the application for the premises license will be submitted and approved by the council. The premises construction shall be completed in manner which sustainably complies with the schedules of works referred to the application and accompanying plans. A copy of committee's full decision, including settings and details of the decision together with its reasons, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If the applicant or any person who has made relevant representation is unhappy with the terms of the provisional statements issued, they are entitled to appeal to magistrate court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. Thank you all for watching, and our next meeting starts 2 p.m. Thank you all.